Let me go through a couple of ways of doing this question. So first up, this length is 1. If I focus on this triangle on the top left, what we see is we've got a 1 here. This is 90 degrees, and I've got 45 degrees either side. If I draw a line going down the middle like this, then I will create another right angle triangle with 45 degrees. I can split this now into a half, and I can see that this length will also be a half because it's an isosceles right angled, so 45-degree triangle. So that length is a half, and by symmetry, that will also be a half. And remember, the full length here is x. So we actually have x plus 1 as our diagonal. And if we use Pythagoras' theorem, we must have 10 squared plus 10 squared is going to equal that x plus 1 all squared. Brilliant. This is 200, which means that x plus 1 is going to be the square root of 200. That's just 10 root 2. So x is going to be 10 root 2 minus 1. Here's the second way. This is actually how I did it. So I didn't think to use that diagonal of the square. I decided to use x as a diagonal of a triangle. So I identified this was 1, and I used Pythagoras' theorem to then get 1 over root 2 for each of these lengths. Because if I've got 1 here and I call this like y and y, then I've got y squared plus y squared, or 2y squared is 1. So y squared is a half, and that's why y is 1 over root 2. In this sort of setup with a 45-degree triangle where you get two sides the same, you're always dividing by root 2 to get the smaller one, or timesing by root 2 to get the hypotenuse if you have the smaller sides. It's worth knowing that, actually. So that means that this length here is going to be 10 minus 1 over root 2. And okay, it's a little bit more complicated, but it's going to be along similar lines now. So 10 minus 1 over root 2 squared plus another one, because it's exactly the same here. So two of them is going to equal x squared. Now, rather than expanding this bracket, we can actually just now square root both sides. So we'll get the square root of 2 times 10 minus 1 over root 2 is equal to x. And we're actually nearly there. We just multiply the bracket out, so x is 10 root 2, and then root 2 times 1 over root 2 is just 1. So 10 root 2 minus 1. So first approach, yeah, there's less, like we don't get fractions involved or anything. We use Pythagoras on the triangle I've outlined. Second approach also works, and yeah, so I think this bit's a little bit more complicated here, but we get the same answer.